Every 8 seconds, a woman over 35 loses a measurable piece of her longevity, not in a hospital, not in a crisis, but in her own living room. After dinner, under the glow of a phone screen. Tonight, that stops. I'm Dr. Elias Site, and for over a decade, I've worked at the intersection of circadian biology and hormonal medicine, specifically studying why high-achieving women age faster than their lifestyle should allow. What I've found is not a nutrition problem, it's not a fitness problem, it's a cortisol timing problem that happens in a 90-minute window most people never think about, and it's fixable, completely, once you know exactly what to fix. But before we go any further, I need to know where you are right now. I've identified 2 distinct biological patterns showing up in the data, and the solutions shift significantly depending on which one is yours. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing before this video goes 30 seconds further. Drop a 1 in the comments if your main struggle is tired but wired, exhausted at 6 p.m., then wide awake at midnight with your mind racing. Drop a 2 if it's that stubborn midsection weight that refuses to move no matter what you eat or how much you train. Your number is your biological signature. Drop it now, and let's decode what your body is actually telling you. Here's what I want you to understand about this channel, and about why we're having this conversation. At VitaWave, we operate from a single guiding principle, that health is not a destination, it's a rhythm you learn to ride. We don't just treat symptoms here, we decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. That is the lens through which everything I'm about to share is designed. And the wave I want to decode with you today is the one that almost nobody is talking about, the cortisol cascade that fires up in the evening hours, precisely when your biology is designed to be winding down. Most conversations about cortisol focus on the morning. Wake up early, get sunlight, cold shower, breathe through your nose. That framework is solid, but it's only half the picture. Because the cortisol problem that is actually aging high-performing women is not happening at sunrise, it's happening at sunset. And every night it goes unaddressed, you are paying a biological price that compounds silently, in your cells, in your skin, in your metabolism, in your hormones. Here's the rhythm your body was designed for. Cortisol rises sharply in the early morning, your biological alarm clock. It should peak around 8 or 9 a.m., taper steadily through the afternoon, and by the time the sun begins to set, it should be in a natural, gentle decline. By 9 p.m., your body wants cortisol to be low. It wants your nervous system to shift from survival mode into repair mode, from spending to rebuilding. That shift is not optional. It is the condition under which your body's anti-aging programs can actually run. The problem is that the modern world never told your nervous system the workday ends, and so the wave never crashes, it just keeps building. And that is where the cascade begins. Think about the last 30 nights of your life. How many of them ended with you genuinely calm, genuinely dark, genuinely quiet before 10 p.m.? For most women watching this, the honest answer is 0, and every one of those nights carries a biological cost you haven't been shown yet. In about 8 minutes, I'm going to show you something that most longevity doctors don't discuss openly, a specific window in your evening that either turns your body's repair systems on or keeps them completely switched off. Stay with me, because what's in that window will change how you think about every night you have from here forward. Let's talk about what's actually happening in your body during what researchers now call the second shift. You come home from work, and instead of cortisol beginning its natural descent, you context switch. The dinner needs to happen, the lunches need to be prepped. Someone has a problem. An inbox notification pulls you back into a work thread. You're not relaxing, you're still performing. And context switching, biologically, is one of the most cortisol-intensive activities a human nervous system can do. So your adrenal glands, 2 small but extraordinarily powerful glands sitting on top of your kidneys, they keep firing. They were scheduled to gear down. Instead, they're running the afternoon shift on borrowed energy, producing cortisol your body was never designed to need at this hour. Now here is where the biology becomes critical. Elevated nighttime cortisol doesn't just make you feel wired, it interrupts something called DNA repair. Every night, when you enter deep, restorative sleep, your cells execute a maintenance cycle. They rebuild protein structures. They clear out cellular debris, the process scientists call autophagy.
This is your body's anti-aging program, and it only runs when cortisol is low enough to unlock it. When cortisol stays elevated into the night, DNA repair slows down. Your telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that function as a biological age meter, shorten under chronic cortisol elevation. Every night of disrupting hormonal rhythm adds measurable time to your biological clock, not your calendar age, your cellular age, and these are not the same number. And for group 2, the midsection weight that won't move, here is your answer. Elevated nighttime cortisol triggers the preferential storage of visceral fat, not subcutaneous fat, the kind you can pinch, visceral fat, deep, organ-surrounding, metabolically active fat that secretes inflammatory proteins, worsens insulin resistance, and does not respond to calorie restriction or traditional exercise. Because it was never created by what you ate, it was created by your hormonal architecture at night. If you have been eating clean, training consistently, and that midsection is still not changing, stop blaming your discipline. Your discipline is not the problem. Ask instead, what is my cortisol doing between 7 p.m. and midnight? That is your answer. I want to pause here for a moment because I know what some of you are feeling right now. You came into this video already tired, already a little behind, already carrying the weight of a day that asked more of you than you had to give. And now I'm telling you that the thing you do to survive the evening, the phone, the show, the glass of wine, the few quiet minutes that are the only thing that feel like yours, those things are making it worse. I hear that. I genuinely do. And I want to be very clear about something. What I'm describing is not a personal failing. The women navigating this are not disciplined, they're not lazy. They are some of the most capable, most driven, most determined individuals in their fields, and their cortisol is still elevated at midnight, not because they lack willpower, but because the system they're operating in was not designed with their biology in mind. You are not broken. You are running an extraordinary machine and conditions it was never built for.
And once you understand the actual mechanism, once you see the specific lever you need to pull, this becomes one of the most solvable problems in your entire health architecture. That is what the rest of this conversation is about. The goal here is never shame. The goal is clarity. Because when you understand what's actually happening, the change becomes obvious and it becomes yours. Now I want to get specific, because the most damaging evening habits I see are the ones that feel the most earned. There's a concept in sleep psychology called revenge bedtime procrastination. It's the phenomenon where people who feel they have no time for themselves during the day reclaim the late-night hours, scrolling, watching shows, doing anything that belongs only to them. And I understand it deeply. After a full day of giving, this feels like finally taking. But here's what is happening biologically in those hours. When you stay active under artificial light past 10:30 or 11 p.m., you are forcing your adrenal glands to produce cortisol at the exact time they are biologically designed to rest. Over time, this pattern creates measurable adrenal depletion, not a metaphor, but a documented decline in the gland's capacity to produce the right hormones at the right times. One of the first to be impacted is progesterone. For women in their mid-30s and 40s, that progesterone depletion shows up as heightened anxiety, irregular cycles, mood instability, and worsening sleep, which creates more cortisol demand, which depletes the adrenals further. The cycle becomes self-sustaining. The second trap is what I call productivity mindset bleed. You've built your identity around performing, around achieving, around forward motion. That drive is extraordinary. It is part of what makes you capable of everything you carry. But your nervous system does not distinguish between productive doing and stressful doing. It only measures demand. And at night, when you keep demanding performance from your biology, you are spending from an account that only refills during genuine rest. This is why the 3-2-1 rule matters as a foundation. 3 hours before bed, no significant food intake. Give digestion time to complete, so energy can redirect to cellular repair. 2 hours before bed, no work or cognitively demanding tasks. 1 hour before bed, no screens. This is not a wellness cliché. It is a hormonal transition protocol that creates the conditions your body needs to shift from survival to restoration. Here is the truth I want you to sit with. Every night you skip this transition, you are not just losing sleep quality, you are losing cellular repair time that cannot be recovered. There is no catching up on Saturday. Your telomeres don't take weekends off. Recognizing revenge bedtime procrastination in your own routine is not a failure. It's a diagnostic win. Now you know exactly which lever to pull. That awareness by itself is worth more than any supplement on this channel. If this is landing for you, if you recognized yourself in any of this, hit the like button right now. It tells YouTube this conversation is worth sharing, and it helps us reach more women who are running on borrowed cortisol and don't yet know why. Now, I want to show you the second layer of this cascade, because cortisol doesn't operate in isolation at night. It recruits allies, and one of the most damaging allies in the modern environment is artificial blue light. When cortisol is still elevated and you are still on a screen in the evening, your brain is receiving two conflicting signals simultaneously. Cortisol is signaling threat state, stay alert, keep running. Blue light from your phone, your laptop, your overhead LEDs is sending a direct signal to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your hypothalamus, the brain's master clock, that says it is still daylight. Do not release melatonin. Keep the body in its daytime operating mode. The consequence is that melatonin, which is not just a sleep hormone, but one of the most potent antioxidants your body produces, is suppressed. When melatonin is suppressed, your cellular antioxidant defense drops, and that is when glycation accelerates. Glycation is the process by which sugar molecules attach to collagen and elastin fibers in your skin, stiffening them, stripping them of elasticity, and producing what dermatologists call premature structural aging, the kind that shows up as fine lines, sagging, and loss of facial definition that no cream addresses because it originates from inside your biochemistry, not outside it. High cortisol in the evening triggers cravings for sugar and refined carbohydrates, not because you lack willpower, but because your nervous system believes it is still in a threat state and chemically demanding glucose for energy. When you eat those foods late at night, you deliver the raw material for glycation to a collagen system that is already underdefended. You are providing the fuel for accelerated aging, while your body's repair systems are sitting locked behind a cortisol door that never opened. And there's one more term I want you to keep: inflammaging. It's the slow, chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that accumulates from repeated nights of disrupted sleep and elevated cortisol, inflammation that eventually becomes visible. You see it in morning puffiness, in the dullness around the jawline, in the redness that doesn't quite clear. That is not dehydration. That is your inflammation signature, and it is written in your evenings. Here is what I need you to understand about inflammaging. It is not a single bad night. It's the compounding interest of dozens of nights. It accumulates silently, and by the time it's visible on your face, it has already been building in your vasculature, your metabolic system, and your joints for months. This is why the window we're talking about tonight matters more than any other health decision you make. Now you know what inflammaging actually is, and more importantly, you know it's reversible, not with products, with the right biological conditions at night. The protocol I'm about to give you is designed specifically to shut this process down. This is the part of the conversation I want you to save, because what I'm about to give you is not a morning routine. It is not a detox. It is a specific, sequenced protocol for the 90 minutes that most directly control your hormonal architecture for the next 16 hours. Get this window right, and everything downstream, your sleep quality, your morning metabolism, your skin, your mood, your body composition, begins to shift. And that is not a promise. That is circadian biology. The first tool is breathwork, not meditation, breathwork.
The distinction matters. Meditation requires mental quieting, and for many high achievers, trying to quiet the mind without first quieting the nervous system creates more frustration than it resolves. Breathwork works differently. It bypasses the thinking mind entirely and acts directly on the vagus nerve, the primary communication line between your brain and your body's parasympathetic system. The technique? Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 8. The extended exhale is the key.
Your inhale activates your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Your exhale activates your parasympathetic, rest and repair. By doubling the exhale, you are physiologically holding the door open for your nervous system to shift gears. 5 to 8 minutes of this pattern in the early evening produces measurable drops in circulating cortisol through vagal activation. Your shoulders will drop, your jaw will unclench, your thoughts will slow. That is a real biological event, not a mindset shift. The second tool is somatic movement, gentle, non-aerobic movement like yin yoga, slow walks, or body scanning that works at the fascial level to release stored tension without triggering a new cortisol response. Intense evening exercise, by contrast, can spike cortisol and delay sleep onset by 3 to 4 hours. Know when. High-intensity work belongs in the morning or early afternoon. Your evenings belong to recovery movement. The third is magnesium glycinate, one of the most underutilized tools in longevity medicine. Magnesium plays a role in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those that regulate your HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, responsible for cortisol output. Most people in the modern world are subclinically deficient, depleted by chronic stress, caffeine, and industrial food systems. 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate taken 60 to 90 minutes before sleep lowers muscle tension, reduces cortisol receptor sensitivity, and supports deep and REM sleep architecture, where the most significant anti-aging processes run. The fourth is a hard digital sunset, not dimmed, off. All screens 60 minutes before your target sleep time. The pineal gland is extraordinarily light sensitive. Even small amounts of light through closed eyelids can suppress melatonin production by 50%. Your sleep environment needs to be dark enough that you cannot see your hand in front of your face. That darkness is your anti-aging environment. And the fifth variable is temperature. Your core body temperature must drop approximately 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius for sleep onset to begin. The ideal bedroom temperature is between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius, cooler than most people keep their rooms. A warm bath 60 to 90 minutes before bed accelerates this. The warm water draws blood to the skin's surface, and when you exit, your core temperature drops quickly, producing the same physiological signal your brain uses to initiate sleep. This is thermal biology, not wellness conjecture. Here is the honest challenge. None of these tools are difficult. Each one takes minutes or no active effort at all. The resistance is not logistical, it is psychological. Implementing this protocol means acknowledging that the evening scrolling, the late work, the me time under bright lights comes at a biological cost. And for high achievers, accepting that cost is sometimes harder than any physical habit change. So let me summarize the evening reset stack. The 4-count inhale, 8-count exhale, 5 to 8 minutes, ideally around 7 p.m. Somatic or restorative movement only after 6 p.m. No high-intensity training in the evening. Magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams, 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. Hard digital sunset. All screens completely off 60 minutes before bed. Bedroom temperature between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius, and a warm bath or shower 60 to 90 minutes before sleep to trigger the core body temperature drop. That is your protocol. 6 inputs, 90 minutes, 16 hours of impact. I want to paint a picture for you, not a hypothetical, a biological reality that becomes available to you when you implement this protocol consistently over 4 to 6 weeks. The first thing you'll notice is your mornings, not because you've changed anything in the morning, but because of what you did the night before. When cortisol drops naturally in the evening, when melatonin does its job, when deep sleep actually runs its full cycle, your body spends those hours in genuine repair mode. Cellular autophagy complete, growth hormone pulses correctly, insulin sensitivity is reset. You wake up with what metabolic medicine researchers call a metabolic head start. Blood glucose stable, hunger hormones calibrated, the cortisol awakening response clean and sharp. You're alert without being anxious, energized without being wired. Over weeks, the compounding becomes visible. Your skin's collagen synthesis, which accelerates during deep sleep, begins outpacing the glycation process that was previously dismantling it. Puffiness clears, jawline definition returns. The brightness around the eyes that used to be there on good days starts to be there on most days. These are not cosmetic changes. They are biological feedback confirming that your cellular repair programs are running correctly. For Group 2, the midsection weight, here's your timeline. Visceral fat is hormonally regulated, which means it responds to hormonal normalization. In clinical work with women who implement these protocols and genuinely improve their sleep architecture, measurable reductions in visceral fat appear within 8 to 12 weeks without significant changes to caloric intake, because the fat was never a caloric problem, it was a cortisol problem. Correct the cortisol pattern and the biology follows. I want to talk to you about your bedroom environment because it matters more than most people realize. Your bedroom must be a recovery sanctuary, not a secondary office, not a scroll room, not a Netflix room. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. When you consistently use your bed for non-sleep activities, the conditioned association between bed and sleep degrades. This is stimulus control, one of the most powerful principles in sleep medicine. Charge your phone outside the room. Remove the workspace. If you have a television in your bedroom, I want you to honestly ask yourself, is that convenience worth trading the quality of the 8 hours you spend in that room for the next 30 years? And here's the shift in identity I want to leave you with. You are not restricting yourself from screens in the evening because you are following a protocol. You are doing it because you're a woman who treats her evening as the foundation of her performance. You are someone who understands that the quality of your tomorrow is built in the hours after dinner. You're someone who doesn't just produce, you recover. And in the science of longevity, recovery is where the real compounding happens. Here is what I want you to remember above everything else from today. Your biological clock is not fixed. Telomere research, circadian medicine, hormonal biology, all of it points to the same conclusion. The rate at which you age is malleable. It is influenced by rhythms, and you now know exactly which rhythm matters most. Here is what I want you to take with you from today. The aging you're experiencing, the fatigue that doesn't clear, the skin changes, the weight that won't shift, the mornings that feel like you never quite slept, none of it is inevitable. None of it is genetic destiny. It is a pattern, and patterns can be changed when you have the right information.
Your body is not working against you. It is running a program that was written for a world without artificial light, without the second shift, without the kind of chronic low-grade demand that defines modern high performance. Your biology is not broken. It is running the wrong rhythm. And at VitaWave, what we do, the only thing we do, is help you find the right one. Start tonight, not with a complete overhaul. Start with one thing from the evening reset stack: the breath work, the magnesium, the digital sunset, the temperature. One thing, 7 days, then come back and tell me what changed. Because this is not a one-way broadcast. Your results shape what we build next. Drop your number in the comments right now. 1 if you're tired but wired, 2 if it's the midsection, and tell me which protocol you're starting with tonight. I read every single comment, and the one that comes up most in the next 48 hours determines the exact focus of our next conversation. If this gave you something real, if it named something you have been feeling but couldn't explain, share it with one woman in your life who needs to hear it. Because the more we understand our biological waves, the more powerfully we can ride them. And if you are not yet subscribed to VitaWave, subscribe now with the bell on, because the next conversation is one you cannot afford to miss. we're going into what your morning cortisol awakening response is telling you about the health of your adrenals and how to read that signal as a diagnostic tool before your body sends you a louder message. That video posts in 3 days. I'm Dr. Elias Site. This is VitaWave, and I will see you in the next wave.